The ship shook violently. Alarms blared through the crystal-like corridors. Amara Vex gripped the control panel of her spacecraft as another blast hit the hull. This was supposed to be a simple mission. Fly near Earth's defense line, gather information, and return to the Lumerian fleet. Nothing more. Warning. Hull breach detected. Shield capacity at 30%. The ship's system announced in the musical language of her people. Amara's four-chambered heart raced. Her blue skin, normally glowing with a soft light, dulled with stress. She was the best pilot in her division, decorated with the highest honors for her service in the Lumerian fleet. How had the humans detected her stealth technology? Through the viewport, she saw 3 human ships surrounding her. Their weapons were primitive compared to Lumerian technology, but they had numbers on their side. Another blast rocked her ship. The control panel sparked and went dark. No! Amara slammed her 6-fingered hand against the dead controls. Without power, her ship drifted helplessly in space. The humans closed in. Hours later, Amara woke up in a strange room. The air felt too thick, the gravity too strong. Earth. They had brought her to Earth. A metal collar circled her neck, pressing uncomfortably against her gills. When she tried to reach out with her mind to feel the thoughts around her, she found nothing but silence. The collar blocked her telepathic abilities. The door slid open. A human female entered, wearing the uniform of Earth's defense forces. She had short brown hair and eyes the color of Earth's oceans. She carried a tablet and watched Amara with careful interest. "My name is Commander Ellie Winters," the human said. "Can you understand me?" Amara stayed silent. The universal translator embedded in her ear canal worked perfectly, but she refused to give the human the satisfaction of a response. Commander Winters sat down across from her. "We've analyzed your ship. Impressive technology. Your people clearly have advantages over us, yet you're losing the war. I wonder why that is." Amara couldn't hide her surprise. The humans thought they were winning. The Lumerian High Command had assured everyone that Earth would fall within a cycle. Water? Commander Winters offered a container. "Our tests show your physiology requires more hydration than ours." Suspiciously, Amara took the container. Her skin had begun to dry painfully in the Earth atmosphere. She drank, expecting poison, but tasted only clean water. "You're the first Lumerian we've captured alive," Commander Winters continued. "The others chose death over capture. That makes you valuable." "I am Amara Vex, elite scout of the 3rd Lumerian Fleet," Amara finally spoke. "I demand to be treated according to interstellar war protocols." Commander Winters smiled slightly. "So you do speak our language? Good. That will make things easier. And yes, you will be treated according to protocols. You're not going to a lab for dissection if that's what you fear." Amara kept her face blank, though relief flooded through her. The stories told to Lumerian children about humans cutting apart alien captives flashed through her mind. "You'll be staying here, at this facility. Under my supervision," Commander Winters explained. "Your cooperation will determine your comfort." "I will tell you nothing about my people," Amara said firmly. "We'll see." Commander Winters stood up. "For now, rest. Your body is still adjusting to Earth conditions." 2 days passed. Amara explored the limits of her captivity. The room was comfortable enough, with a sleeping platform adjusted to Lumerian preferences. The gravity had been reduced slightly. The air moistened to help her breathe. These small mercies confused her. Why would the humans care for her comfort? During her 3rd meal, Commander Winters returned. She sat across from Amara and watched her eat the specially prepared food. "Is it acceptable?" she asked. Amara nodded slightly. "It lacks the mineral content my body requires, but it is better than starving." "I'll have that adjusted." Commander Winters made a note on her tablet. "Tell me, why did you become a scout?" The question surprised Amara. "Why do you ask personal questions? I am your prisoner, not your friend." "I'm curious about you," Commander Winters said simply. "Our peoples have been fighting for 3 years, but we know almost nothing about each other." "We know enough," Amara replied coldly. "Humans are wasteful, violent, and primitive. You destroy your own planet and now seek to spread across the stars like a disease." Instead of anger, Commander Winters showed only thoughtfulness. "And what do Lumerians tell their children about why you attack us?" Amara hesitated. The question seemed innocent but carried weight. "We are bringing order to chaos. It is our right as the superior species." "Is that what you believe?" The question hit Amara strangely. Of course, that's what she believed. She had fought and killed for that belief. Yet saying it aloud to this calm human made the words sound hollow. Over the next weeks, a routine developed. Commander Winters would visit daily, asking questions about Lumerian culture, technology, and beliefs. Amara answered carefully, giving information that seemed harmless while protecting military secrets. The commander brought books about Earth, allowed Amara to watch human entertainment programs, and gradually increased her privileges. One night, Amara woke screaming from a nightmare about the battle that had killed her younger sister. Before she fully regained her senses, the door opened and Commander Winters rushed in, concern on her face. "Are you hurt?" she asked, approaching cautiously. "No," Amara said, embarrassed by her weakness. "Just dreams." Instead of leaving, Commander Winters sat on the edge of the sleeping platform. "I have them too, about the people I've lost." In the dim light, Amara studied the human's face. There was no deception there, only shared pain. For the first time, Amara wondered if the stories she had been told about humans were wrong. "Would you like to talk about it?" Commander Winters asked. Amara shook her head. "No, but thank you for asking." As Commander Winters left, Amara felt something shift inside her. The human had shown her kindness when she didn't need to. That small act of compassion planted a seed in Amara's mind. A dangerous seed that would grow into something neither of them expected. 2 months passed. Amara sat in the meeting room, watching the human military officers study the star map she had helped create. Her blue fingers traced the supposed path of the Lumerian supply ships. The information was true but incomplete. She had carefully moved the timing by 3 Earth days, enough to make the humans miss the actual convoy. "Are you certain about this route?" asked General Susan Miller, a stern woman who always regarded Amara with suspicion. "The Third Fleet always uses this approach vector when supplying the forward bases," Amara said calmly. "It offers the best cover from your detection systems." Commander Winters studied Amara's face carefully. Over the weeks, the human had developed an annoying ability to sense when Amara wasn't telling the full truth. Their daily debriefing sessions had evolved into complex conversations where Winters probed for inconsistencies with gentle but persistent questions. "And the escort ships?" Winters asked, pointing to the markers Amara had placed. "Only 4? That seems light for such an important supply run." Amara kept her face neutral. "Resources are stretched thin. The High Command cannot spare more ships." Commander Winters nodded, but her eyes showed doubt. Later, when they were alone, she turned to Amara with a serious expression. "You're holding something back," she said directly. "I don't know what it is, but I can feel it." "I've given you valuable intelligence," Amara replied, avoiding the accusation. "Your forces have already used it successfully." "Yes," Winters agreed. "And I've ensured you're treated well in return. Better than any other prisoner of war. I've advocated for you, Amara." The use of her name, spoken with that strange human accent, created an odd feeling in Amara's chest. Over the past weeks, Commander Winters had fought to improve Amara's conditions. Her living space now included a hydration chamber that mimicked Lumerian bathing pools. The collar had been modified to cause less discomfort. She was permitted to walk the secure garden area daily, feeling real sunlight on her skin. "Why do you do that?" Amara asked suddenly. "Treat me as if I matter. I am your enemy." Commander Winters seemed surprised by the question. "Because you do matter. Being enemies doesn't change that." The answer disturbed Amara. Such thinking would be considered weakness among her people, yet she couldn't deny that Winters' compassion had affected her. Each small kindness made it harder to remember that she was supposed to hate this human. That evening, as Amara performed her meditation rituals, she heard the collar's soft beep that indicated the daily medical scan. For 60 seconds, the telepathic blockers decreased to allow the scan to read her brainwave patterns. It was in these brief moments every day at the same time that Amara sent her real messages back to the Lumerian fleet. She focused her mind, compressing the information about the human defense plans into a tight telepathic burst. The range was limited with the collar still partially active, but the Lumerian monitoring post orbiting Earth's moon would detect it. She included details about the ambush the humans were planning, ensuring her people would be prepared. When the collar returned to full power, Amara felt the familiar silence descend on her mind again. A strange guilt followed. Commander Winters trusted her, or at least wanted to trust her. Each telepathic message felt increasingly like a betrayal of that trust. The next morning, Commander Winters arrived at Amara's quarters with a small package. "I brought you something," she said, placing it on the table. Amara opened it cautiously. Inside was a small device. "What is this?" "Music player," Winters explained. "I noticed you respond to certain frequencies in our communication center. I thought you might enjoy Earth music that matches those patterns." Amara stared at the device, touched by the thoughtfulness. No one had ever paid such close attention to her preferences before. On her homeworld, individual desires were secondary to the needs of the collective. "Thank you," she said quietly, unsure how else to respond. Commander Winters smiled. "Try it when you're alone. I'd be interested to know what you think." That night, Amara listened to the music. The sounds were strange at first, so different from the mathematical precision of Lumerian compositions. Yet they stirred something in her. The human music contained emotion, chaos, beauty. She found herself playing certain songs repeatedly, especially those with complex string instruments that reminded her of home. The next day during their meeting, a junior officer burst into the room. "Commander!" The supply convoy ambush failed. They weren't there. Commander Winters' eyes immediately went to Amara. There was no anger, only disappointment. The look hurt more than Amara expected. "They must have changed their plans," Amara said smoothly. "The High Command sometimes makes last-minute adjustments. Or the information was deliberately wrong," General Miller said sharply. "We can't trust this alien." "Leave us," Commander Winters told the others. When they were alone, she sat across from Amara. "Are you working against us?" Amara met her gaze steadily. "I am a prisoner of war. My loyalty remains with my people." "I'm not asking for betrayal," Winters said quietly. "Just honesty. Lives are at stake on both sides. This war benefits no one. Wars are not meant to benefit. They are meant to be won," Amara replied, reciting the teaching of her military training. Commander Winters shook her head. "Is that really what you believe? That winning is everything, no matter the cost?" The question lingered in Amara's mind that night as she prepared for sleep. Her people had always taught that humans were inferior, emotionally weak, intellectually limited. Yet Commander Winters showed wisdom that many Lumerian leaders lacked. She sought understanding rather than simple victory. The nightmares came again that night, worse than before. Amara dreamed of her sister's death, but this time, when she looked at the enemy fighter that fired the killing shot, Commander Winters was at the controls. She woke screaming, tangled in the sleeping covers. The door opened immediately. Commander Winters stood there in her nightclothes, clearly having rushed from her own quarters nearby. "Another nightmare?" she asked, entering cautiously. Amara nodded, unable to speak. Her body trembled with the fading terror of the dream. To her surprise, Commander Winters sat beside her and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're safe." The touch was electric. Lumerians rarely made physical contact outside of family units. The warmth of the human's hand seemed to flow through Amara's skin, calming her racing hearts. "I saw my sister die again," Amara whispered. "But this time you killed her." Instead of offense, Commander Winters' face showed understanding. "Your mind is conflicted. You're starting to see me as something other than an enemy, and it frightens you." The insight was disturbing in its accuracy. Amara had been trained to view all humans as enemies, yet this one had shown her more kindness than her own commanders ever had. "I don't know what to believe anymore," Amara admitted. Commander Winters stayed until Amara's breathing returned to normal. As she left, she paused at the door. "Sometimes what we're taught and what we discover for ourselves don't match. When that happens, we have to decide which truth to follow." Alone again, Amara touched the spot on her shoulder, where the human's hand had rested. Tomorrow, during the medical scan, she was scheduled to send critical information about Earth's main defense station, details that would allow a devastating Lumerian attack. For the first time since her capture, Amara wondered if she would send the message after all. Alarms blared throughout the base. Amara sat up in her bed, confused by the sudden noise. The door to her quarters burst open as armed guards rushed in. "On your feet, alien!" one shouted, pointing his weapon at her. Before Amara could respond, they grabbed her roughly and forced her arms behind her back. The metal restraints bit into her blue skin as they dragged her through the corridors. Personnel ran in all directions, their faces grim and angry. Something terrible had happened. They brought her to an interrogation room she had never seen before. Unlike the comfortable meeting spaces where she usually spoke with Commander Winters, this room was cold, with bare metal walls and a single table bolted to the floor. They pushed her into a chair and secured her restraints to a ring on the table. The door opened and Commander Winters entered. Gone was the usual warmth in her eyes, replaced by a cold, hard stare. She placed a tablet on the table and pressed a button. A holographic display appeared showing footage of a space battle. Amara recognized the location immediately. Outpost 7, one of Earth's forward defensive positions. 37 dead, Commander Winters said, her voice flat. The outpost completely destroyed. The attack came exactly where you said our defenses were strongest. Amara's heart sank. She had sent that information during her last telepathic transmission 3 days ago. The Lumerian fleet had moved faster than she expected. You set us up, Commander Winters continued. All this time, you've been feeding us half-truths mixed with critical misinformation. We trusted you, Amara. The use of her name, once spoken with respect, now carried bitter disappointment. It hurt more than Amara wanted to admit. I am a soldier of the Lumerian Empire, Amara said, trying to keep her voice steady. My duty is to my people. Commander Winters slammed her hand on the table. Your people? Do you even know what they're fighting for? What this war is really about? To bring order to— Don't give me that propaganda, Commander Winters interrupted. If you believe that, you're not as intelligent as I thought. She leaned closer, her face inches from Amara's. Did you enjoy it? Gaining my trust while planning our destruction? Amara looked away, unable to meet those accusing eyes. The truth was, she hadn't enjoyed it. Each lie had become more difficult as she grew to respect the human commander. The collar's telepathic dampeners are being upgraded, Commander Winters said coldly. No more medical scans, no more chances to contact your fleet. You'll be moved to maximum security until we decide what to do with you. 2 guards entered and unlocked Amara from the table. As they led her away, she looked back at Commander Winters, who stood with her back turned, shoulders rigid with anger and betrayal. Amara's new cell was a stark contrast to her previous quarters. A small room with reinforced walls, a basic sleeping platform, and a sanitation unit. The new collar around her neck was heavier. The inhibitor frequency doubled in strength. For the first time since her capture, Amara felt truly like a prisoner. Days passed with no visitors, except guards who delivered food without speaking to her. The isolation was difficult for a Lumerian, whose species evolved with constant telepathic connection to their community. The silence in her mind was deafening. On the 4th day, the door opened unexpectedly. Commander Winters entered, looking tired. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her uniform was slightly rumpled as if she hadn't slept properly. We intercepted a Lumerian communication, she said without greeting. I thought you should hear it. She placed a small device on the floor and stepped back. A voice filled the room, speaking the musical language of the Lumerian High Command. Amara listened, her face growing paler with each word. Asset Vex is now classified as compromised. Extraction plan cancelled. The asset is considered expendable. Primary objective remains unchanged. Winters turned off the recording. They've abandoned you, Amara. Your own people have left you to die here. Amara sat perfectly still, absorbing the shock. She had served the Empire loyally for 15 cycles. She had killed for them, risked her life countless times, and now they had discarded her without hesitation. Why show me this? She asked finally. Because I want you to understand where your loyalty has gotten you, Commander Winters replied. While you were betraying us, your high command was planning to abandon you all along. She turned to leave but paused at the door. The medical team noticed your condition is declining. The new collar is causing neurological stress. I've authorized treatment, despite objections from my superiors. After she left, Amara touched the heavy collar around her neck. The pain had been increasing daily, a constant burning sensation that spread down her spine. Yet Commander Winters had authorized treatment. Despite everything, the humans still showed concern for her well-being. That night, as Amara tried to sleep through the pain, She questioned everything she had been taught about humans. They were supposed to be cruel, selfish creatures who cared only for their own kind. Yet Commander Winters showed more compassion than the Lumerian High Command ever had. 2 more days passed. The medical team adjusted the collar, bringing some relief from the pain. Amara spent her time thinking about her life, her choices, and the war that now seemed increasingly pointless. On the 7th day of her isolation, Commander Winters returned. She dismissed the guards and sat on the floor across from Amara. "I've been reviewing all the intelligence you provided," she said. "There's a pattern I didn't see before. You never gave us information that would lead to massive Lumerian casualties. Your misinformation was strategic, designed to disrupt rather than destroy." Amara said nothing, but Winters was correct. She had carefully chosen what to reveal, trying to balance her duty with a growing reluctance to cause death. "Why?" Winters asked simply. "Would you believe me if I told you?" Amara replied. "Try me." Amara took a deep breath. "This war, it's not what most Lumerians think it is. The High Command tells us we fight for glory, for expansion, for our rightful place as the superior species. But I've seen enough to question those reasons." Commander Winters watched her carefully. "What do you think the real reason is?" "I'm not certain," Amara admitted. "But something about your planet, your people. The High Command wants something specific from Earth, something they're willing to sacrifice many lives to obtain. And that doesn't bother you?" "It didn't," Amara said quietly. "Not until I met you." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Commander Winters stood up. "I'm going to ask them to reduce the power on your collar again. The medical team says it's still causing damage." As she reached the door, Amara called after her. "Commander, I'm sorry about the outpost. I didn't know they would attack so soon or with such force." Winters paused but didn't turn around. 37 people, Amara. People with families, with dreams. Remember that the next time you think about where your loyalty lies. After she left, Amara lay on her sleeping platform, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in her life, she felt truly lost. Her people had abandoned her. The humans had every reason to hate her. She belonged nowhere. Yet one thing remained clear in her mind. The image of Commander Winters' face when she learned of the attack. Not anger at an enemy, but personal betrayal. As if Amara had meant something to her. As if she had cared. That night, Amara made a decision. When Commander Winters returned, she would tell her everything. The truth about the Lumerian interest in Earth, the real strategies of the High Command, and her own growing doubts about the cause she had served for so long. What she didn't understand yet was why the thought of regaining Commander Winters' trust meant so much to her. Why the humans' disappointment hurt more than her own people's abandonment. Something was changing inside Amara, something that both frightened and fascinated her. Commander Winters stared at Amara with disbelief. "Genetic diversity? That's what this war is about?" Amara nodded, her blue hands clasped tightly together to hide their trembling. She had just revealed the greatest secret of her people. A betrayal that would mean death if the Lumerian High Command ever captured her. For 3 centuries, the Lumerian Empire has practiced controlled breeding to enhance desirable traits. Telepathic ability, physical strength, intelligence. But the gene pool has become too limited. A neurological disease has emerged that affects 1 in 4 Lumerian children. Our scientists discovered that human DNA contains genetic sequences that could prevent the disease. So instead of asking for help, your leaders decided to invade us? Commander Winters shook her head in frustration. The High Command would never admit weakness to another species, Amara explained, and they feared humans would demand too high a price for their cooperation. Higher than war? Winters asked incredulously. Amara had no answer for that. The pride of Lumerian leadership had always seemed natural to her before. Now seeing it through human eyes, it appeared foolish and destructive. "I'm telling you everything now," Amara said quietly. "The locations of our bases, our fleet movements, our vulnerabilities. Use it however you wish." Commander Winters studied her face carefully. "Why the change of heart?" Amara looked down at her hands. "My people abandoned me. But more than that, I've seen how you treat your enemies. With fairness, even kindness. It made me question everything I believed about humans. What she didn't say was how much Commander Winters herself had influenced her decision, how the humans' steady presence, her integrity, and her unexpected compassion had slowly transformed Amara's worldview. If what you're telling me is accurate, it could change the course of the war, Winters said thoughtfully. But I need proof. Something to convince my superiors this isn't another deception. The flagship of the High Command will enter this system in 10 Earth days, Amara said. I know their shield's frequency modulation pattern. With that information, your weapons could penetrate their defenses. Commander Winters looked surprised. That's significant intelligence. I know. Their eyes met across the table. Something passed between them, an understanding that they had crossed a line. Amara was no longer simply a prisoner providing occasional useful information. She had become a defector, the first in the history of the Lumerian Empire. Over the next days, Amara worked closely with Commander Winters and a small team of human intelligence officers. Her collar was modified again, allowing limited use of her telepathic abilities under supervision. She identified weaknesses in Lumerian defenses, explained their tactics, and helped develop a strategy to target the flagship. During a late evening session as they reviewed battle plans together, Commander Winters pushed away from the table with a sigh. We should rest, she said, rubbing her tired eyes. We've been at this for 14 hours. Amara nodded, suddenly aware of her own exhaustion. As they gathered their materials, she noticed a small music player on the table, the same one Winters had given her before the betrayal was discovered. You kept it, she said with surprise. Commander Winters glanced at the device. It seemed important to you. It was, Amara admitted. No one had ever noticed my preferences before. In Lumerian society, individual desires are considered selfish. That sounds lonely, Winters said. The comment struck Amara deeply. She had never thought of her life as lonely, but now looking back she realized how isolated she had been even among her own kind. What is your favorite music? She asked suddenly, curious about the human. Commander Winters seemed surprised by the personal question but answered anyway. Old Earth jazz. The classics from the 20th century. I like the improvisation, the way the musicians communicate without words. Could I hear some? A small smile appeared on Winters' face, the first Amara had seen since the betrayal. Sure. They sat together, listening to the strange, beautiful music. The complex rhythms and harmonies reminded Amara of the cosmic patterns Lumerian astronomers studied. She closed her eyes, letting the sounds wash over her. It's like mathematics with emotion, she said softly. That's a perfect description, Commander Winters replied, looking at her with new interest. I've never thought of it that way. When Amara opened her eyes, she found the human watching her with an expression she couldn't quite interpret. It made her hearts beat faster in an unfamiliar pattern. The next morning, Admiral Paige Foster arrived from Earth Command headquarters. The stern woman barely acknowledged Amara as she entered the briefing room. I've reviewed your intelligence, she said to Commander Winters. If it's accurate, we have a significant opportunity, but the defector needs to be transferred to our main facility for deeper questioning. With respect, Admiral, Amara stays here, Commander Winters said firmly. She's working with my team and we've developed an effective system. Admiral Foster raised an eyebrow. She? The alien has a name now, Commander. Yes, she does, Winters replied, not backing down. And she's my responsibility. I'll vouch for her continued cooperation. The two women stared at each other, tension filling the room. Finally, the Admiral nodded curtly. On your head be it, Commander, but I want daily reports, and if there's any sign of deception, the alien goes to maximum security immediately. After the Admiral left, Amara turned to Commander Winters with confusion. Why did you do that? Your career would advance faster if you let her take me. Commander Winters seemed uncomfortable with the question. The work we're doing is important. Changing our process now would be inefficient. But Amara sensed there was more to it than that. The way Winters had defended her, used her name. It felt personal. As the days passed, their relationship continued to evolve. During strategy sessions, their hands would occasionally touch as they moved markers on the tactical display. Winters began bringing Lumerian-suitable food that she had specially requested from the kitchen. Small gestures that spoke of growing care. One evening, as they took a rare break in the base's observation room, Amara gazed at the stars visible through the reinforced glass ceiling. "Do you see that bright blue star?" she asked, pointing. "That's where I was born. A moon colony in the Lemurian home system." Commander Winters looked up, following her gesture. "It's beautiful." "Yes," Amara agreed. "But cold." "Lemurian architecture values efficiency over comfort. Not like here? You find Earth comfortable?" Winters asked with surprise. "Even with the higher gravity and drier air?" Amara turned to face her. "I've found certain aspects of Earth unexpectedly appealing." Their eyes met, and for a moment neither spoke. Something was building between them. A connection that transcended their different species, their opposing sides in the war. The silence was broken by an urgent call on Winters' communication device. "Commander, we've detected Lemurian ships entering the system. The flagship has arrived 3 days early." Winters immediately switched to professional mode. "Sound the alert. Get everyone to battle stations. We're accelerating the plan." As they hurried from the room, she turned to Amara. "Are you ready for this? Once we attack the flagship, there's no going back for you. Your people will consider you a traitor forever." Amara took a deep breath. "They already abandoned me, and what they're doing is wrong. I've made my choice." What she didn't say was that her choice had as much to do with the woman standing before her as with any moral calculation. Something had changed in her hearts, something she didn't fully understand yet but could no longer deny. As alarms blared throughout the base, Commander Winters gave orders to her team. When she finished, she turned to Amara with an unexpected question. "Will you fight alongside us? Not as a prisoner or informant, but as an ally?" The question caught Amara by surprise. "You would trust me with weapons? After everything?" "I trust the person you've become," Winters said simply. The words touched something deep inside Amara. No one had ever seen her as an individual worthy of such trust, not even among her own people. "Yes," she answered, her voice firm with new conviction. "I will fight with you." Commander Winters nodded and handed her a communication device. "Then let's end this war together." As they moved to join the defense forces, Amara realized with startling clarity that she would follow this human anywhere, not because she was her captor, but because somewhere along the way, Commander Ellie Winters had captured something far more important than her body. She had captured her heart. Space lit up with weapons fire. The battle for Earth's future raged above the planet's atmosphere. Amara stood on the bridge of the human attack vessel, wearing a modified Earth Defense Force uniform, created specifically for her Lemurian physiology. The collar around her neck had been reprogrammed to allow her controlled use of her telepathic abilities while preventing long-range communication. Lemurian fighters approaching. "From Vector 3, she called out, sensing the pilot's thought patterns even through their shielding. Commander Winters nodded sharply. "Evasive pattern Delta. Lieutenant Kelly, target those fighters." The human ship banked hard, avoiding the incoming attack. Amara gripped the console to steady herself, still not fully adjusted to how humans maneuvered their vessels. The fighting style was different from Lemurian tactics, more unpredictable, more willing to take risks. "The flagship is hiding behind the moon," Amara said, studying the tactical display. "They're using the natural satellite to block your sensors. Can you sense them from here?" Commander Winters asked. Amara closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. The modified collar allowed limited telepathic range, but it was enough. "Yes, the High Commander is on board and—" She paused, a cold feeling washing over her. "My father is with him." Commander Winters glanced at her with concern. "Your father? You never mentioned he was part of the High Command." "He is the Supreme Military Advisor," Amara said quietly. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to think my information might be compromised by family loyalty." "Is it?" Winters asked directly. Amara met her gaze steadily. "No, not anymore." The moment was interrupted by weapons fire hitting their shields. The ship rocked violently. "Shield strength at 60%, an officer called out. "We need to get closer to the flagship," Amara urged. "Their main weapon can't target small vessels at close range." Commander Winters made a quick decision. "Prepare the boarding pods. We're going to take the fight to them." The plan was dangerous but offered their best chance. While the main Earth fleet engaged the Lemurian support ships, a small team would board the flagship and disable its shields from within, allowing Earth's weapons to target the command center. As they prepared in the launch bay, Commander Winters approached Amara with a serious expression. "You don't have to do this part," she said quietly. "No one would blame you for staying behind." "My knowledge of the flagship's layout is essential to the mission," Amara replied. "And besides—" She hesitated, then added softly, "I go where you go now." Something flickered in Winter's eyes, recognition perhaps of the deeper meaning behind Amara's words. But there was no time to acknowledge it. The boarding alarm sounded and they rushed to their positions. The journey to the flagship was chaos. Lumerian defense systems targeted the boarding pods, destroying 2 of the 5 launched. Amara's pod, shared with Commander Winters and 3 human soldiers, barely avoided destruction as it slammed into the flagship's hull. "Cutting through now," one of the soldiers announced, activating the breach equipment. As the hull gave way, Amara sensed danger. "Guards on the other side! 6 of them!" The warning came just in time. As the breach opened, the human soldiers were ready with shield generators. Lumerian energy weapons discharged against the barriers while Commander Winters and her team returned fire. "This way," Amara called, leading them through the crystalline corridor she knew from her years of service. The flagship's design was familiar. She had trained here, served here, been honored here for her accomplishments. Now she was an invader, a traitor to her people. They fought their way deeper into the ship. 2 of the human soldiers fell to Lumerian weapons. Commander Winters took a glancing hit to her shoulder but continued on, her face tight with pain. "The shield control room is just ahead," Amara said, pausing at an intersection to check for guards. Suddenly, a blast of telepathic energy hit her mind. She staggered, crying out in pain. Down the corridor stood 3 Lumerian elite guards. Warriors trained to use their telepathic abilities as weapons. "Get back," she shouted to Winters and the remaining human soldier. "They'll tear your minds apart." Before they could retreat, the elites attacked again. The human soldier collapsed, blood running from his nose and ears. Commander Winters raised her weapon, but Amara knew it would be useless against the telepathic assault. With a desperate cry, Amara reached up and overrode the safety protocols on her collar. Pain seared through her as the device released all restrictions on her abilities. She gathered her telepathic strength and thrust it outward like a shield, blocking the elite's attack. "Go," she told Winters. "Get to the control room. I'll hold them." For a moment, Winters hesitated, clearly torn between the mission and leaving Amara behind. "Trust me," Amara said, straining against the mental assault. "I can do this." Commander Winters nodded once, then sprinted past her toward the shield control room. The elites tried to redirect their attack, but Amara held their attention, engaging them in mental combat. The strain was enormous. Blood trickled from her nose as she fought to maintain her defenses while launching counterattacks. One elite fell, then another. The third, stronger than his companions, pushed Amara to her limits. Her vision began to blur as the telepathic battle drained her energy. Just as her strength was failing, the flagship lurched violently. Commander Winters had succeeded. The shields were down and Earth's weapons were hitting their target. The distraction gave Amara the advantage she needed. With a final surge of mental energy, she overwhelmed the last elite's defenses. He collapsed, his mind shut down by her attack. Exhausted, Amara stumbled toward the shield control room. She found it empty with signs of a struggle. Commander Winters was gone. Panic rose in Amara's chest. She reached out with her mind, searching the ship. She found Winters' thought patterns, distinctive to Amara now after months of close contact, moving toward the command bridge. "No," Amara whispered. Winters was walking into danger. The Supreme Commander would be there, surrounded by guards. Gathering her remaining strength, Amara raced through the corridors. Explosions rocked the ship as Earth's weapons continued their assault. Support beams crashed down, forcing her to find alternate routes. Her heart pounded with fear. Not for herself, but for the human who had changed everything for her. When she finally reached the command bridge, the scene froze her in place. Commander Winters stood at the center, surrounded by Lumerian guards. And facing her, weapon raised, was Supreme Commander Vex, Amara's father. "Your primitive species cannot hope to defeat us," he was saying to Winters. "Even now, our reinforcements approach." "The war is over," Commander Winters replied steadily. "Your flagship is crippled. Your fleet is scattered. There's no need for more death." The Supreme Commander laughed coldly. "Death is the natural outcome of weakness. Your species is weak and therefore Father, Amara called out, stepping onto the bridge. All eyes turned to her. The Supreme Commander's face showed shock, then disgust. You live, he said flatly, and you wear the enemy's uniform. I had hoped reports of your betrayal were exaggerated. The betrayal was yours, Amara replied, moving slowly toward them. You abandoned me, declared me expendable. Because you were compromised, he snarled, gesturing toward Commander Winters. By this human. Yes, Amara admitted. She showed me what true leadership looks like. Compassion instead of cruelty. Respect instead of fear. Her father's face hardened. Then you will die with her. He raised his weapon toward Commander Winters. Amara reacted instantly. She reached out with her mind, channeling all her remaining telepathic energy into a single devastating blast directed at her father. He staggered, the weapon falling from his hand as he clutched his head in agony. The guards, momentarily stunned by the attack on their leader, hesitated. It was enough time for Commander Winters to draw her own weapon and fire, disabling 2 of them. The others surrendered as more human forces arrived on the bridge. Secure the command center, Winters ordered her troops. She turned to Amara, who had fallen to her knees, drained by the telepathic attack on her father. Are you all right? She asked, kneeling beside her. Amara looked up at her, seeing concern in those expressive human eyes. You're safe. That's what matters. The Supreme Commander, restrained by human soldiers, glared at his daughter. You are no longer Lumerian, he spat. You have betrayed your blood, your heritage, everything we stand for. What you stand for brought only suffering, Amara replied wearily. To our people and to humans, there was another way. Take him to the brig, Commander Winters ordered. As the soldiers led the Supreme Commander away, she helped Amara to her feet. Can you walk? We need to evacuate. The flagship is breaking apart. Together, they made their way to the escape vessels. As they launched away from the dying flagship, Amara watched through the viewport as the symbol of Lumerian power shattered into pieces. With it went her old life, her identity as a loyal soldier of the Empire. The future was uncertain, filled with questions she couldn't answer. 1 month later, Amara stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital headquarters. The space station offered a spectacular view of the planet below, blue and green and swirling white clouds. Beautiful in its chaotic natural state, so different from the carefully controlled environments of Lumerian worlds.